You're listening to A Bit Later, a midlife stand-up podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ziegler, and I'm sitting down with comedians from across the globe to find out why they are pursuing stand-up comedy and what they are learning about themselves in this stage of their lives. In today's crossover episode, my guests are Alex and Joe from Altered Judgement. They're two friends who met playing hockey and decided to pursue their creative outlets together with the production of Altered Judgement, the podcast where morning radio meets late night vibes. Together, they are highlighting local talents in food, music, business, entertainment, and more. In this episode, we discuss artistic pursuits at 40 and building something from the ground up, just like our comedy heroes across generations. Check out Altered Judgement wherever you consume podcasts or social media. Enjoy.
So, realistically, we started actually last November, so we're still relatively new to it, but we were talking about it for, I would argue, 3+ years.
At least.
We played hockey together, so it was always like a post-game conversation. It kind of just kept going on and on. And we're like, maybe one day we'll just do it. And then finally we did it, and we're here.
I think it kind of corresponded because after I had also had aspirations of trying, to get up on stage and do some open mics. And I did the first one in October. And it was finally like, well, there's one hurdle that, was jumped over. Why not? What's holding us back now from just starting this thing and see how it takes off, if it does, if it doesn't. I mean, the big thing is you're not going to know until you try whether you're going to have something that's successful. So
That's great. So you guys are both, you're Montco based, right?
Well, so we're kind of we're split. Quakertown's Montco, right?
No, it's Bucks, but I also did grow up in Montco. So
we shoot out of Montco, so we're out in Horsham. But I grew up in Bucksco, moved to Montco, and Joe's currently in Bucksco.
Yeah, I was born in Philly, grew up in Montco, live in Bucksco. So the Bucksmont Philly area. That's
that's a usual trajectory, right, for people anyway.
Yeah.
So
within 30 minutes of the stadium, that's where it's at.
Nice. So you guys know? I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
good.
a little off today. So you played hockey today, or with each other, and then so Alex, you started Parmesan Productions.
That's correct? Me and Joe's LLC. We created two. Basically, that's our production company. And then Altered Judgment's under that. So it kind of goes hand in hand with like aspirations and conversations we had after getting this started with things we wanted. Kind of like one of your questions you're going to ask later is like where we saw it going. Mm-hmm. So we did formulate the LLC, and it's funny because Parmesan Productions actually also ties to hockey because it was a joking.
I was going to say it was Parmesan's was a potentially floated team name at one point that never came to fruition.
So we finally got to use it.
It's a great name. We got to use it for something.
Hence,
nice. That's good. I like that. So, Joe, you're doing stand up, and we'll dive into that. But Alex, you had some work in the entertainment business previously.
Yeah, I was in bands. I've done sound design. I did photography and stuff like that. So a lot of it were things that I kind of put on the back burner, which is kind of similar to stuff you talk on the podcast. So like those were passions of mine. I was pursuing them when I was younger, and things weren't lucrative or things just didn't line up, and life happened. And this podcast actually allowed me to dive back into that. I was originally going to be a film major. I haven't played music in a while, but there's audio components to this. There's video. We have musical guests on. So it's kind of like all my passions in one culminated into what we're doing with this. And that's kind of one of the main things I love about it.
That's really cool. And I can relate. I studied film as well and never really pursued it other than producing stand-up shows in Montco back in the day, mostly in Norristown. So even though I'm Philly based. So Joe, what about your journey in terms of stand-up or even prior to that, getting on stage?
So it's funny because my schooling, my background has absolutely nothing to do with it. I went into that good amount of 6 figures of debt in school. I have two fancy, expensive pieces of paper, bachelor's, master's degree. I've worked in the public sector for 15+ years now. I just always liked being silly and trying to make people laugh. It was always kind of a thing that I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be great to do? But I always suffered from anxiety and self-confidence issues. Like, there was a lot that I dealt with up until probably about 7-8 years ago when I finally decided to go to therapy for it. And through working through that, got better about those kinds of things. And I realized, what was holding me back was a fear of not being liked and not, and being rejected. And then I kind of ultimately just was like, well, I came to this realization, no matter what you do, like even the people that we're huge fans of, there's always some jackass who's going to have something to say online about, oh, this person sucks. And it was kind of an aha moment where I'm like, you're never going to make everyone happy. So just try it. And if it's something you enjoy and you're having a fun time doing it, then it's worth it. And the people who hate on it, they're really just kind of telling on themselves. They're miserable and they don't want to, try to do something or go for something they want to do. So in a way, this whole thing's been very therapeutic into this experience.
Think you are really just overcoming that anxiety in real time because you're getting those comments in real life of what they would be online or whatever.
Exactly.
That's how I feel anyway.
No, and it's funny because I have vivid memories of like in junior high, like I'd be making jokes in class that half the kids would be looking like, what is, and then you could see the teachers though like laughing. Like it was kind of like humor that was beyond the years of some of my peers. Some of them were laughing and got it. You could see the teacher trying to be serious, like, oh my god, it's funny, but should be saying that kind of stuff. And it it was a slow build because I definitely, it's funny. You look at me, I'm this huge, like 6'3" guy, but I was definitely dealing with bullying issues in elementary school from kids who were like 3-4 years older than me who repeated fifth grade 1,000 times. But so and I've just learned again, I've just learned to kind of accept that that's on them. It's not on me. And it's just, it's fun getting to express a different creative side that I never really got to indulge because I more took a path of like a serious job, serious career. When this was something that I would say has always been a dream, was to be in comedy in some way.
Yeah, I feel you on that, and I think both of you could probably relate. I'm assuming, in the same age range, 40-ish.
Yep.
Okay.
On the dot for me.
Not for Joe. I'm almost
Okay.
there. Getting there.
Okay. Yeah, same for me this year
Yeah.
that I turned 40. But I think you start to realize like what's important for you. Like you can make life work. I know you both have children because I watched an
Yes.
episode with, I saw the one. I think Joe, you were talking to your daughter. That
That
was
was
pretty
my
funny.
daughter.
Yeah.
Or your daughter.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. But it was
She
pretty
pops up on
fun.
this. She could be hiding here right now. You never know.
It's fun. It's total opposite experience. Girl dad over here. I have two boys. One's literally going to be a teenager in a week, and then a 10-year-old. So
Jeez, that's wild, dude.
you're telling me, man. I feel old.
How do you, because I don't have experience with that. I've said this on other podcasts. I'm the uncle. I don't intend to have children, but I mean, still finding balance as you get older and pursuing your arts, whatever it may be. How do you both kind of find balance in that?
I mean, we kind of we don't overdo it. Like we try and shoot twice a week, twice a month, sorry. And then we'll knock out 1 or 2 episodes or a couple, kind of like what you do. So we kind of set aside like a day or two to balance it out and just knock all them out, and then we have that time. Like even holidays, we'll shoot a bunch of episodes that carry us through December and stuff because all the family time there, we don't want to take away from Thanksgiving and stuff, and we basically cruise through that like we did last year. So it's just it's pretty easy to balance. Actually, it hasn't been terribly difficult, and we incorporate them into some stuff as well.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that I would certainly like to have an opportunity to. I've only done a very handful of open mics to this point. I would love the opportunity to give more time to that, to write more. It's it's I'm definitely like, besides the work and this project, I'm also dealing with boys who are like older and doing sports. So we have those things to do. Like my oldest plays baseball, my youngest plays football, and I would say just don't be a fan of sleep. As long as you don't like sleeping,
There you go.
you can make it work.
That's true. That's when I
Makes
do all
sense,
my
yeah.
editing, 3 a.m. That's how to get it done.
Yeah, that's true too. With a 9 to 5, even it's just
Oh,
like
dude,
difficult. You have to work everything around that. Like I'll probably edit tomorrow's episode at like 7 in the morning.
Dude, that's how
I
it
haven't
works.
done
Gotta
it
find
yet.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's the editing guru here. I'm still like slowly but surely working on footage from when I went to Ireland over a month ago to try to put together our video for that. Because he's like, you need to learn to do this too. I'm like, you're right.
I genuinely love doing it, and that it's rare to that, but I genuinely love. That's one of my favorite pieces, like puzzling that, putting that piece of the puzzle all together and editing that. Just it's a blast for me. I love it. It's like almost like mowing the lawn. It's like therapeutic.
I get that. I enjoy it as well. You guys have a much higher quality production. I think you're doing really cool shit. But like, I am more like, I'm like, I have to get this out. Let me use the basic editing skills that I have to put this episode out. And I think more people are listening than watching for me. So that helps too. But obviously now you need the video component for everything.
Yeah, we weren't sure going into it either where it would land. So we started doing both. And it's almost like a 50-50 split when you look at those metrics. So it, and even Apple Podcasts now is starting to put video and stuff to it. So it kind of seems like that's the push. But yeah, we get a pretty even blend of both. And that's the tough part too. Cause like once I edit the video, like I look at that visually, I'm like, hey, this lands visually for me, but then I'll literally go kick the video off and just sit there with my headphones and listen to the full episode and say, hey, did it audibly land? So we do that with each one because you kind of got to make both pieces work. Otherwise you'll lose your audio listeners too. So it is a tough balance when you got to factor both in.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'll definitely, we both watch the final product before it goes live. And then once it is live, that's typically then when I personally, like on my drive, I'll throw it on and listen to it for the just purely audio aspect and see how it translates. And I do find, and I think Alex agrees, that often it does translate very well because we are trying to go for something. And it's also, we've mentioned before, what I think separates us a little bit from other comedy podcasts is we're also coming at an angle of like a love and nostalgia for radio.
Yeah.
And we're trying to keep that alive, yet also in what kind of a format we see it could be going forward. Like for sure, traditional radio is still there. We still listen. It still has its place, but we see this not as, I don't want to even say so much as a replacement, but just kind of the next step in.
Yeah, it's like its own thing. It's kind of a blend of different mediums and pushing it forward. So that's kind of like the end game we were looking at, sort of, for this like big picture.
That's really cool. So I know you touched on it earlier, so we could actually talk about that a little first, of like where you see it going and like really where the brainstorming began for you guys. Like I know you're Preston and Steve fans. I don't know if you also listen to like Are You Garbage and Matt and Shane's and those kind of podcasts. Like
I do listen to Matt and Shane's. Bad Friends I listen to a lot.
Okay.
So those are the kind of things, Preston and Steve has been a big driver. That's kind of way of like a radio format. That's kind of why we designed the studio. Because we shot our first 10 episodes, we kind of didn't know what we were doing. We were learning on the fly. So we were running through everything, getting to know what was going on. We did a whole live podcast in the brewery when we did our beer release 4 months in. We had no clue what we were doing. We made it work, and we learned a lot in those first 10 episodes. And that was what we kind of cut as our first season. And then from episode 10 to episode 11, we sat down for a couple weeks and said, hey, like big picture, now that we've been through all these different experiences, shot these different episodes, had our first guests, learned about these things, where do we want it to go? And that's why when we came back with episode 11, it was a very strong radio push, because that was the direction we sat there and said, like, that's kind of what we want to create, but in a more modern sense.
And it also kind of tiered into the desire, the want to bring on other creators, other performers, let them share, their passions, because we love hearing about it, because we're relating to them. We're going through it right now ourselves, but also it's kind of, it's nice to have a medium where if you can't break into these, already established big names and shows and things, it's a way to get your stuff out there. And we view it as it's truly a collaborative effort. We're helping each other. And as far as where this is going, I mean, for sure, Altered Judgment is always going to be the anchor of this. We're always going to want to keep it a thing, but we would like to, maybe help. We see ourselves almost like we have a production company, because we see ourselves as potentially bringing on more shows, different genres, and not only that, but we also, as far as our own creative, we have so many more things that we've talked about doing. No timeline yet, but like we want to write movies. We want to start doing skits and having more reels that are not just clips from the show. Like we want to do more comedy skits that we put out there. We've been talking about the idea of really getting into improv. Like there's really no limit to what we want to do with this yet. we're just kind of still we're just kind of riding high on the fact of where we already are,
Yeah.
not even a year into it. We didn't think it would already be what it is. And we know that there's still so much more we have to learn and so much more that it can grow. So we're enjoying the present and we think the future has endless possibilities.
I really respect that, and it makes so much sense as like a roadmap that you have this studio constructed, you have your own content, and I like the thought of bringing in more folks that'll be in your production company. I mean, you look at a company like Gas Digital or those kind of things, like that's how it is organic, and it is sort of like to your point of not being able to break into the mainstream. I think the mainstream's kind of gone
Yeah.
unless you do it yourself first and then get you're in the stratosphere. He's mentioned on every podcast, but like a Shane Gillis situation,
Yeah.
right? You do your own thing and then that explodes, and the possibilities are endless. So I think that's what the driver is, and the driver is not. I don't think it's money or fame. It's being creative and doing what you want to do. That's the way I view it, anyway.
I think that's worked out very well for us. Like we have trouble when people ask us the question, like, what is your podcast about? I've always had trouble answering that because it's not generally about anything specific. We didn't pigeonhole ourselves intentionally because we wanted to be able to explore all those avenues. That because we were new and we didn't know where it was going. But even down the line now, looking at it, like the people we bring on, we brought on people with 200 followers. We've had people with 40K plus. We've had food influencers. We've had artists. We've had musicians. We love just doing that, and that's kind of like the late night show part that we drag into the radio vibe. Like we just bring on guests because we're interested by it, not necessarily because it's, you don't have to be viral, you don't have to be doing anything crazy. We just love talking about this stuff and hearing about those passions and just experiencing that stuff for ourselves. Like it's a learning experience, and we find so much joy in just allowing that platform, like not using our platform, but some people don't know how to edit or some people don't have the access to this equipment. So for them to hop on here, talk about what they love, we give them some reels, they sit there and they're on our episode and they can just share that with everybody. That's the biggest piece for us. We love that is the takeaway. And that's I argue that's one of the biggest joys of doing this for me, not just, sitting there talking with Joe and hanging out, but just the people we meet and then the stuff we do for them, the collaborations that come from it.
Yeah, that's really solid. Sorry, got a little
Yeah, you're
feedback,
good.
but we're good. So, I think, yeah, and I like what you said about the followers because I think there is and has been for a long time this agenda of like looking at how many followers people have before you bring them on the podcast. It's like, is this person cool or not? Like, that's kind of, do they fit this? Like, I had one comic on that had like 50,000 followers. I didn't expect him to be, I don't expect to break into his network. He reached out to me. It was like, what you're doing is cool. I was like, that's great. Let's just have a conversation. Because when I was doing this before, I'll just share, like, I was so focused on numbers and the business and not the comedy of it that
Mhm.
that becomes the stressful aspect. I mean, eventually it'll get stressful when we're all successful, but
Yeah.
but like
But for
you
now,
have
just enjoy
you
the
have to
ride.
have fun in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, so let's go back to a minute about the beer release. You guys
Oh,
had
yes.
your own beer?
We have, yeah. And it was about 4 months in. It was kind of wild to us too. It was surreal when it all happened. We're actually
Drinking,
drinking
yeah,
currently from them.
yeah, the brewer that made it. This is another one. Probably besides our beer, our favorite beer from them. The name of the brewery is Van Loo's Brewing Company in Percy, Pennsylvania. Galen, he's the head brewer there and owner, and he, you know, it kind of started off a little bit like a joke. Hey, we should have a beer, but he was absolutely down. He like,
Yeah, we reviewed them the
yeah,
one time and he loved it. And then
yeah.
it kind of just happened
I
organically.
was literally going to like, we had been a few months in, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm gonna go ask Galen because I'm a frequent, flyer there. Can I take some of your beer and review it? And before I had the chance to ask, he had been like, hey, you want to take some of our beer and review it? That's where we kind of were starting to get ideas like of this was already, we were onto something because there were things coming to us that we weren't having to like make always happen ourselves. Like certainly that's what we have to do a lot of the time, but
Like you're saying, like some of your guests reach out organically. And you're like, this guy has 30, 40,000 followers. Why is he reaching out to me organically? Like you question that. But so when people, it doesn't matter your follower count. I would argue like we've had some of those organic interactions too. And they've been some of the best relationships we've made. Most of our stuff honestly has come organically. We haven't really approached anybody directly. It's just like, hey, what does it take to get on the show? I was like, you did it. So like we're not gatekeeping. We just enjoy just everything about this. We did food reviews, beer reviews, like all that stuff happened organically. We didn't really sit there and say, this is what we want to do. It just kind of fell into our lap, and then it just became our thing.
Yeah, and so Galen just came to us. He had the idea. He wanted to make it's just a sessionable pale ale. He's like, been looking for a good name, a good angle for this, and want some ideas on what it should be. And he did all the work. It's his brewery. He brewed the beer. We were there on brewing day. Got some good shots and emptied out the spent grain and stuff like that. Helped do that, but no, we were really thankful that he wanted to do that, and then for the fact that, hey, why don't we have this big launch party for it? And again, only being like 4 or so months into this,
months at that point,
we didn't. We were amazed that we made it work, but
yeah, we did games and all sorts of things we wouldn't do in the studio. Like that was the first time trying a lot of that stuff live. Like we had giveaways, we did contests, we did the broadcast right from the brewery. Like that was the first time we ever did that. And actually part of the reason we're taking off the next couple months in studio and have the backlog of episodes is so we got about 3 or 4 other live things we're going to do. Now that we've done that first one, we know what to expect. So we're going to have a lot of fun with those and some other big stuff coming up. So that's why we don't always have to be here. We can move it around. Like all our cameras are action cameras and stuff. This whole studio setup, the board and everything is mobile. We can run everything through this. We have PAs, we can have live music, we can do all that from here. This whole studio, just pick it up and go somewhere. And that's part of the stuff that we're exploring now.
And one big thing we learned, like when we did our first one, we didn't even have an out feed so that the crowd could actually hear what's going on. Like now we know going forward when we have live events, besides the recording, the people are actually there in person are going to hear the show as it's going to sound. So
yeah, we just literally sat there and did a podcast. Nobody heard it. We were just doing interviews and stuff sitting there, but it was cool to us because we heard it all. But yeah, we got a PA going forward. We're going to treat it more like how Preston and Steve do their stuff, down the shore, and everybody will be able to participate and hear it. That was the one piece. Again, we were new, can't fault ourselves, but for what it's worth, 4 months in, I think we crushed it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Did you guys go to Kegs and Eggs back in the day? Did you ever do that down in
I've
Wildwood?
never gotten down there. I had wanted to.
Yeah,
I'm inevitably always busy with work.
There was like a couple summers my friend, I mean, I'm going back probably close to 20 years, obviously at this point, that we were doing that, but it was an all right time. Go out and drink at like 10 in the morning. But, and I had a silly follow-up question. Like, did you guys ever try the home brewing yourselves back in the day?
Yes.
It doesn't work out well.
No, usually not.
I have a buddy who's really good at it. So I was looking at his set. I'm like, yeah, this is not going to go well for me. My kit was like $50. I'm hoping for the best. So yeah, we leave it to the professionals.
They know what they're doing.
But yeah, so that whole thing with that beer happened organically and it was great. And hopefully we do it again and we'll see where that goes. But it's been a great partnership. And that was the first time we reviewed anything. I think that beer was the first time.
I believe that was our first.
And that just came from organic relationships by going to that brewery. Like Joe had been there a while. I hadn't been there. I got there for the first time, and that relationship happened organically. And they liked what we're doing, and it made sense to partner with them. So it just worked out well.
And it's kind of been like the benchmark at what people, I think, because again, we deal, as Alex said, with a lot of different people, a lot of different backgrounds, but we're not foodies. We're not, one specific thing. So kind of when we have started reviewing, we've done food, when we've done beer and others, we're willing to do other kinds of things as well. But I think people kind of appreciate that we promote it, but we also come at it with our funny sense of humor, our sarcasm, like that the thing that makes it Altered Judgement is what they want in the promotion of the brand. And it just, we have fun with it. It ultimately makes the product, which they are legit, really great products that we're reviewing, but it makes it look even that much more enticing to have that kind of not that you can't appreciate a good foodie review, but we're kind of like like chewing with our mouth open and stuff like that. Like we're not
seen one, you've seen them all. We just do it our way and then it works. So we're not questioning it.
Yeah.
I prefer that. I've been seeing that now too. Like, everybody does a pizza review because of Portnoy, but like there's these dudes on Staten Island that are certainly not foodies or experts, and they just go to Manhattan and they're just like, all right, is this worth the hype kind of stuff? And there is like a trust, I think, that's built because it cycles back into the not having an agenda of like having people on that you like, is this cool? Is it not? And people notice that nowadays. I think everything on social media, there is a market where people are so, I guess, clean edited, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I think the majority of people would rather see something real. I don't know if that sounds cliche or not, but that's just that's what I would rather look at.
That lines up with our experience and conversations we've had with people. And I've also noticed what's neat is because we didn't pigeonhole ourselves as like a sports podcast or a comedy podcast, and then we interact with these people, we end up in their sphere. So like we interact with a lot of foodies, but we're not a foodie. We interact with a lot of artists, which then, you know, tattoo artists latch onto that. And then that branches out to like, it just organically branches out into all these other spheres. And music is a big one. Once we started doing more with music, it just, you get accepted all over there. So like, I like that we didn't do that. You know, set ourselves as one specific thing because it allows us to explore. It's really just what we like and what we want to, you know, learn about. So it's been great that we haven't been forced to have a specific agenda or have certain guests. We can literally, like, we've had, you know, we had a 12-year-old who makes his own custom skateboard decks, and then we've had artists, we've had bakers, you know, we had musicians, just our friends come on, like neighbors. Like we just, there's no rhyme or reason, and it feels organic, and it just feels like its own little universe of things, and that's what we love about it.
Yep, I agree.
And that's your backyard buzz segment, right? Usually,
Backyard buzz is usually, yeah, when we do like a feature on something local, specifically, like we make a point to make it either part of the episode or its own thing. Yeah, we'll title it that, and that's when we came up with that idea for those things. We'll still have a lot of local stuff in the episode, and we may touch on it like a minute, 2 minutes, or just mention it in passing. But when we sit down and do a whole thing, we do title it like Backyard Buzz and kind of branch it off its own thing so that those creators or whoever we partner with can, you know, push that without having to push our whole episode. So that's kind of why we separated it. So they have that access to that right away, and they can, you know, they don't have to push our episodes. They can push what we did with it. You know what I mean? It keeps it separate, but together at the same time.
And we've also kind of created the separate segment specifically when it comes to a beer. We have a brews for use segment when we're trying specific beers. So, it's just going back to, it doesn't have to be one thing, and that's what I think people really appreciate it. It is, you know, ultimately it is work. It is, you know, a labor of love right now for Alex and I. You know, we are hoping to make something off of this in the near future, but I think people get when they come on here that it's fun, like that. It's, you know, and not only fun, like we've also delved on a lot of serious topics, like, and I think the fact that we approach it in a comedic format, a lot,
makes it accessible.
You get a mix of raw emotion and honesty. And, you know, when it gets a little real, then, hey, we got a fart button. I mean, it just works. I think, it's kind of reflective on real life in a way. Like, you know, yes, you can become interested in your own things, but it's also always great to expand your horizons and learn about other people and places and things. And it's not just for funny enough presenting to the audience and for them to learn from. It's also, we get to have these experiences ourselves. I think is what makes us excited to get back in the studio every weekend. So,
and I think it's important for the audience to know that, like, and just I had watched some of the men's mental health episode that you did. I'm big on that too. I've had a conversation with the life coach about that and had him on. I think even what you're doing is very cool in the sense of, like, it's got a variety show angle of like bringing people on, but that is like morning radio. And then I mean, it's exactly morning radio. And the fact that you're adding music makes sense. I mean, and there is a nostalgia to it because, like, when we were in college, every morning it was either Preston and Steve or Stern.
Yep.
I mean, Opie and Anthony were big at that time too. So that has sort of transitioned into the podcast that people can just listen to whenever they want to. But I think it's mostly our age range that enjoys this stuff. But hopefully younger people kind of understand it as well and don't just want to do get ready with me videos or whatever the hell they're up to all the time. But from a comedic standpoint, I want to kind of touch on that. Let's start with Joe a little bit of so where was your first open mic?
So the first one and the majority of I've done so far have been at Free Will in Percy. That our buddies, the Happy Losers, run an open mic there every 2 months on a Thursday night. So
one's coming up.
Yeah, of course. You know, I missed the last one in Ireland. I'm going to be in Myrtle Beach for the next one, but you know, I'm trying also when I go play. I have to look up and see if I can find one. There's got to be one down when I'm in Myrtle Beach. I want to maybe try to hit one up there because I want to, you know, start branching out into things that aren't as familiar. Like we went in, and we should eventually have a DC Altered Journey video up.
Yeah.
where I did do
Artemis.
a set down there, which they said it's the oldest open mic I think in the city down there.
Yeah, and
So,
everybody there was awesome. We befriended a lot of those people post and during the show and still interact with them. Like that was we were in the middle of DC and Joe found an open mic. We just let it rip.
yeah.
Was that a
So-
draft house? Is that what you're about to say? Was it Arlington Draft House? Does that sound
No, it's
familiar?
Artemis.
So it was like a sports. It was like a
The
sports
Artemis.
bar.
Okay.
Yeah. Not
Very
that
cool.
far down the road from the White House and the Washington Monument,
like
and all
right
that, I
there
think,
on
yeah,
Fort
if I remember
Street.
correctly. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, it's supposedly like the oldest running open mic in that area.
That's very cool.
Yep.
Shout out to Happy Losers too. Adam took a good picture of me at the Grape Room open mic the other night, so I got to chat with him for a little bit.
We met those guys through this too, so that was like again those friendship, and they've been on a lot, and we interact with them on the regular. We're gonna do some stuff with them.
Yeah,
comedy wise, it'll be cool.
We've talked about there's things they want to do that they're bringing us in on, and we're also again like aspirations of what we want to do down the road. We're like we got to collaborate, we got to write something, create something together. So we love interacting with those guys. We're hoping to eventually down the road work on some stuff together with them, creatively. So
That's great. That's really cool. So Joe, in terms of your material, what do you like to touch on? What topics and what inspires you really comedically?
So my very first set ever was about my vasectomy. But I always found when people were doing vasectomy comedy, and this is what kind of influenced it, they always focus on the actual experience of getting the vasectomy done. I told the fun story about the test after to make sure the vasectomy worked and my experience. And it was kind of funny, the whole set was about the fact that well, they told you could do it at home, but like you'd have to drive it like with it attached to your hip. I'm like, I'm not driving down the highway getting pulled over with a cup of myself like attached to me. So I ended up going to the place they referred me, and I walk in and it was a women's fertility clinic. So I was like all these judgmental faces when I walk in, like, we can't get pregnant, but we know what you're about to do. So no,
That's a good bit. I like that. That's fucking good.
Yeah, but it's there'll be I have so many things that like ideas for bits written down. Like it literally just comes from stuff that happens in real life. Like I was working on one. I did a little bit of it in DC, but I want to work on it more a bit based on those signs that you see for kidney donations. People need a kidney. And sometimes you get the story afterwards, like, hey, it was successful. And the whole premise was they were praising God, but what about the donor? Like, just leave that guy out. Like, how's he feel? So I think it's a little bit of storytelling meets immature men here. Like, I had a bit about farts meets rant comedy. I think
It's life,
I'm
dude.
not exactly in one style. I've explored all styles of it. And you know what? I still throw dad jokes in there because people hate it. I don't care. Fuck
That's
you.
my
It's funny.
personal favorite.
They're funny.
No,
So,
dad jokes are funny.
They are.
If you pepper a dad joke in, it's good. I like
yeah.
it. It's funny.
100%. That's my bread and butter. When I hear a dad joke, I'm like, don't care what else you said. That was it. You made it. That was great.
I'll pepper a dad joke in and sprinkle it with some dark humor to follow it up.
Well, it's
Mhm.
kind of the same, like the comedy aspect of like obviously you can test stuff out throughout the podcast and stuff, but we've made the beginning of the episode. Joe writes opening lines and jokes, stingers. I don't see them until the day of. So we shoot that. That's usually the first thing we do, and that gets everything going. And that's one of my favorite parts. And it's like only like a 3 or 4 minute thing. Well, it's like 20 minutes we film it because I can't stop laughing. But I don't hear him coming into it. It's like when Che and Colin would read their
jokes. Yeah.
it's like
Yes,
that.
yes.
I don't hear him coming, and it gets me every time. The dad joke ones are my favorite, and they usually end up being the ones we use. We have like 5 or 6 an episode, and it's so hard to pick.
Yeah, I end up normally writing about 4 of them. It's funny because it's a holdover from the very first day. Like we were just like, well, how are we going to start the show? And I'm like, well, I just need some kind of funny stinger to open it up.
And then it stuck.
And then it became, half the fun is, can I make him like lose it when I'm trying to do the opener? And it brings me a lot of joy. Like, every week before we're going to film, I'm like, oh, I'm writing the stingers. Oh, I got a good one.
I think it sets the vibe and the tone of the show too. Like it gets us like whatever you're dealing with throughout the day or anything like that to just sit down and rip a couple jokes and just then go into it. I think it sets the tone. And I really think it's a big piece of why the show starts and flows the way it does is just getting that out. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
No, I'm with you there. Yeah, yeah. It gets you loose. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing as like hanging out I mean, we're all like hanging out when we do this, but like hanging out on a mic or whatever, the chatting beforehand is
Yeah.
always helpful. And I think that's part of the process because I know for like a little while I would show up and kind of just keep to myself and like not hang, and then you're just so much more relaxed once you get up there. In terms of like who you enjoy watching or who you remember growing up, like what stand-ups like really stick out to you or like are you big fans of?
Modern now, I think I know it's kind of like everybody. I love what Shane Gillis does. He's just phenomenal. I do like I know it's their podcast, but Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino's stand up too is great. I think you should leave. I keep forgetting the dude's name, but he was on SNL for a bit.
Tim Robinson.
Tim Robinson is like that's my kind of that kind of nonsense humor. I just love that stuff. And then like the dudes from Workaholics, they're just their podcast, their stand up, all that. They're just funny guys. Like that's the realm I fall in with my stuff.
Yeah, for myself, I mean, and probably a lot bigger guy who just embraces who he is and loving life. I love Bert Kreischer stuff. He's funny. You know, I'm a fan of Tom Segura's stand up too. But you know, probably growing up wise, you know, I think probably growing up, my favorite comedian would have been Louis Black. He was just
He was really good.
so clever, and again that rant comedy, and I mean, I've still his delivery always, you know, with like and getting, you know, like screaming when he
You like Chappelle was a big part of our
Chappelle, yes,
Chappelle for sure. Yeah.
Chappelle's show that was a revolutionary show
Key and Peele.
yeah,
like,
Key and Peele.
too.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the improv stuff. Like that's kind of what I lean to too. Like I do like watching those sketch shows and improv shows and comedians that act that way. And that's kind of what I love about the podcast and things we have going forward. Like that's the piece. And that's what Joe's talking. We want to look into taking improv classes because that is applicable to so many things beyond just comedy. Like that can help you with your public speaking. That can help you with just being on point. Like that's what we want to pursue and bring to this show.
And we make it abundantly clear, we've talked about on the show, all the people who want to like crap on SNL. Oh, I remember when SNL was funny. He's like, no, you know what? It still is. And there's still so many great performers on it now in recent years. Back, you know, when we were watching as kids, like I can think of someone from basically every era of the show where I'm like, oh, I'm a big fan of their work. Yeah. It's been such a powerhouse to, you know, some of them were pure improv actors. Some of them were stand-up comedians and still do stand-up comedy, still do movies. It's just, it's brought us so many great talents that I don't know would have gotten the recognition if they didn't get that platform. They wouldn't have, you know, some of them would have made it in some form, but it's been a springboard to allow people to really jumpstart their careers. And every year when they bring in someone new, I'm always excited to, you know, see who they have. Like personally now, like I can tell you on the show now, the current cast that we know there, I'm a huge fan. The two that I'm probably the biggest fan of there right now, Marcelo Hernandez and Ashley Padilla. I think they're both phenomenal. Yeah. And I think, you know, they're going to be the main attractions of the stars for this for the show for the next couple of years. They're the big performers, I think.
Can't forget Adam Sandler. That's a big influence. Yeah, that was our childhood, and
for sure.
I still go see him anytime I can. I just love what he does.
Oh, and another one from today, I almost forgot. Just he's so great with James Austin Johnson. He's another good one. But yeah, no, it's
all over
the place. I appreciate all different types of comedy.
That's great, and I agree with you about SNL. Like it has its ebbs and flows, but I mean, it's an institution and it's always going to have good. Marcelo's stand-up is great. His special was fantastic. And sometimes I don't like, I feel like when people are like, I don't like SNL, it's kind of like, I look at them like, I don't think you're smart. Like, I don't, maybe you just don't like Joe, smart humor.
The same comment.
Like it's, or they, you know, not to go down this road, but they immediately have a political problem with it.
Exactly.
It's like this shit. This is the point of comedy, is to point out the problem no matter what. And SNL has done that through 8 presidential administrations or whatever it may be.
Fun of all of them. It's not just the one, but they've made whoever's the president at the time, you know, as much as, you know, I'm a big fan of James Austin Johnson's Trump. I mean, who can forget Phil Hartman's Clinton? Oh my God. It was amazing. He was
Clinton
so
at
good
McDonald's Phil
Yes.
Hartman, oh my God, with the Somali, just like kind of like Warlords, just takes your chicken nuggets. That's like so good. I mean, that's 30 years ago, and I remember it so vividly. I could watch that today and crack up laughing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's,
Phil Hartman's Clinton was fantastic. It really was. Will Ferrell's W was good too.
That was a good
oh,
one.
that was always what was the thing? Strategery. the debate with that was who played was it Daryl Hammond was playing Al Gore?
So
I think, but
I think
Daryl Hammond was another one who was always good at impressions of the
he did Clinton too at some point.
Yeah,
he did do Clinton as well after Phil. Yeah,
I think the issue with SNL is everybody, that judges it heavy compares it to like there were times where that cast was like A plus, like everybody was a heavy hitter. And I think they compare it to that, and you're never going to be able to duplicate that again. You can't sit there and say that it's ever going to live up to that because that was literally its peak. But you can't not appreciate where it's going. Like it has its ebb and flows too. It wasn't always like that with SNL. It started how it is now, and it'll peak again, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. And even like the lean years, you'd still have somebody like Kevin Nealon on there,
right,
who's a monster at stand up, and he's hilarious. So yeah.
What was the year they said 1986 was that weird year where Lauren came back and it was like the weird cast with it was like I was like I'm trying, but yeah, they revamped it. It was like Joan Cusack came in that year, but it was a year where they ended up letting a lot of them go. But that was the year that I was for Jim Lovitz. That was the year he came on, and he kept he brought them in through like the late 80s. That he was, even though that year was always looked at as a weird year of the show, that you get a lot of its famous characters that he came up with that year. There's always something, even in the years where like, well, maybe they didn't have as good a year as the other. There's always something you remember from the season. Like it's always funny at some point. So
if you ever saw the list of they do the rankings of like the best SNL cast members, bottom of the list, the worst cast member was Robert Downey Jr. I think he was on there for like half a season.
He was that 1986 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Because that was also, they had what's his name, Michael Anthony Hall, and
oh really?
Yeah,
and then what's his name, cousin Eddie in Christmas Vacation.
God, what's his name? I always know him as Cousin Eddie.
Randy Quaid.
Randy
Quaid. Yeah, he was on it.
I didn't know those guys were on there.
Yeah, literally just that one year.
On Peacock, they had right around the 50th anniversary special for SNL. They did a couple documentaries, and they literally did a whole documentary on that year.
That year was wild. Yeah, watch that one.
Like Chevy came back on as a host and like was making fun of the cast or something. Like it was a wild year.
I'll check that out. That's the year we were born, you and I. So that's why it's so weird. But that's strange. And just as an aside, Michael Anthony Hall, I don't know if it was The Simpsons or Family Guy made a reference to him. It's like Michael Anthony Hall stole my car stereo at some point. Bizarre.
Both those shows probably
could have been both. Yeah. So Alex, if you want to talk a little bit about like your desire to do stand up, and maybe like you seem to love comedy.
I do. I genuinely love it, and like I've been writing. Like Joe definitely inspired me to, like, I was writing, but I definitely got into it more. But there, like I told you, pre-recording this, like there's something that's stopping me. I don't know what it is, and it's not like stage fright or anything like that. I don't know. I think it's just one of those things. Once I get over a hurdle, and Joe could probably speak to it too. Like once you got over that hurdle, everything else was just like kind of fell in line. But I just got to make that first jump. But I do, I do enjoy more of the improv thing. I do like writing. But I will eventually get up there. I'm going to have to, if Joe keeps missing Happy Losers open mics. We got to represent, and I'm going to have to fill that void one way or another. But I think that's a good mic for me to go to. It's got a great blend of everybody. Like you got seasoned vets, you got new faces, you got people trying for the first time. It's a very friendly room. Like, you're not going to get booed off stage. So that if I'm going to do it, it's going to be there with those guys, because they made a great room, and it gets bigger and bigger every time. And the caliber of comedy, like I've even said to Joe when we're done watching that show, I'm like, I felt like I sat at a show that I should have spent $50-$60 on. Like they just kill it, and it gets better and better every time. And kudos to those guys, because that's, I mean, I haven't been to a bunch of mics, but I could say that's probably one of the best ones around here for sure, outside the city.
That's like so important, and you just touched on something and I do hope you do stand up. Let me just pause for what I was going to say, because I heard this from, I don't know if you know Josh Ryan.
The name sounds familiar.
He might, I don't know if he's Jersey or Philly. He's really, really funny comic. I hope to have him on this podcast. But an audience member at an open mic that he was running was like, I want to try stand up. And he said, do it once. And he's like, at least do it once. And then he's like, it's going to go really well. He's like, and the second time it won't. It's
Okay.
like, but then because like I was having this conversation with another comic referencing that of like the energy does shift.
Hmm.
And like, even though it's only the second time, you do get over like a big hump that second time doing it. Whether like you don't get as good feedback or you crush it and keep going, there's like something to doing it more than once. Like that'll keep you in it.
Okay.
And it is difficult to explain. I
Like
don't
that
know.
dopamine hit that you just want to go
It's
back to.
it's the dopamine hit. It's like I mean, realistically, like a sense of validation, and but also I think it inspires you to like write more and do more stuff. I don't know,
You
Joe.
kind
How
of
would you
spoke to that.
describe the
Yeah.
feeling of
Yeah.
like getting laughs? Like
Oh yeah,
it's an interesting.
the first time you get even the spattering laugh, like okay, that's cool. The first time you hear the room like most of the people are laughing, that is like you're like holy shit, like that I made that happen. It is such a incredible like high for a moment, and I see what they're saying like, and then you're chasing it for the rest of your life trying to
Yeah.
get that again and again and again. So for
That's
sure.
very true. And bombing is a different kind of thing. Um, but I think I'm reaching a point now where it's like if something doesn't go well, that just acknowledge it. Just be like, oh, this isn't working, and then that gets a laugh. So there's ways to like push through. Um, and then I've also noticed that like listening to sets back,
Okay.
sometimes like the laughter in the room and even the responses from comics feels better than the tape. Like I think the tape gives you a real sense of like, oh, like this felt really good in the moment because I'm getting laughs, but I'd like to hear more laughter in that
I
room.
got you.
That's, I mean, I always want to hear more laughter, but there's just something to the tape. And that was advice I heard on like Hot Breath from someone as well, which is that's a good podcast to listen to for comedy advice. I've noticed. A few people have referred me to that, but I hope that you do it. I hope that you
I'm
get up
going
there.
to. I'm just.
Yeah,
It's
I'm gonna
something
keep
he's gonna
pushing up.
get. He's gonna do it.
Yeah.
I did it to him. He's gonna do it to me.
Yeah, we'll make him get up there.
And I want to get out to free will as well. It's difficult when the mics aren't weekly because
Yeah.
then things change, obviously. Like you said, vacation and whatnot.
It's a
Um,
great room though. It is definitely worth
I've seen
the
the
talent it pulls
photos
is
from it.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a really good spot. And I'm not out in that's in Bucks, right? Free will. Am I
Yeah,
right?
Percy.
yeah, they have two locations. The one where they had the open mics, the flagship in Percy.
Okay. I've been
Yeah,
trying to do a little more like branch out. Like I hit most in the city and then South Jersey. Also for the audience and you guys, thanks for bearing with me. I know it sounds like I have a cold. It is like a terrible sinus allergy situation, whatever.
I feel you there. I've been there many times.
It's weird. I'd rather like feel sick. Like I don't feel sick. I just
I
sound
yeah,
it.
I know.
And every time I go outside with the heat. So I just bored the listener for 30 seconds there. But anyhow, so I think this area's got a good scene. I know I was saying that a minute ago. It's nice to see like this community being built because I feel like when I was producing shows maybe like a decade ago, it was a little more strange. Like I
Okay.
don't know if it's because I was younger. Like it seemed a little more like cutthroat, for lack of a better word. And like this isn't LA, it's not New York. It doesn't have to be that way. And I think people have realized that there's a lot of people creating really cool rooms, and I've gotten really nothing but support from other comedians when I'm out at Mike. So I just want to make that known and shout out to Happy
Yeah.
Losers
No,
yet
for
again.
I mean, we've talked about what happy losers like. I
Yeah.
think what we would love to see down the line is when they look back 10 years or so, they go, oh, that was the time where, in Philly and suburban Philly, that great crop of people came out, like all these names came. Like I could see it happening and seeing some of the people that have been in that free will room, like they're gonna
It's having a
they're gonna get
resurgence.
they're gonna
It's
get
yeah.
recognition. They're gonna work their way up a little. And I just, I think it would be cool to say, oh, that time in like in the 2020s,
We were there.
post COVID, that's where, that a bunch of these great comedians came from that Philly and greater Philly scene. Like I could see that being said down the
I
road.
Yeah.
agree with you. Yeah, and that's crazy to think about. Like, and that does happen. And I saw it with Shane Gillis back then. Like, people would be on Facebook being like, "Get see this guy before
Mhm.
he blows up." Like, and one of my friends, Steve Rinaldi, was like, "He's the guy. He's the next guy out of Philly." And that prophecy was so
I mean,
true.
dude sold out the link,
Yeah,
dude.
it's
It's
amazing.
insane. It's insane. And that's another thing that it goes back to like what I was saying earlier, that there's no ceiling to this, which is what makes it fun. It's a lot of work in the beginning. None of us are making any money on this yet. It's kind of like this
Yeah.
is the investment. It's an investment in yourself. And I think it can go wherever you really want it to if you just commit to it. And the theme of my podcast of like starting literally a bit later. It's kind of like look at people like Rodney Dangerfield or somebody like a Richard Jenny who started
Yeah.
after like a career in finance or whatever and was like toe to toe with Seinfeld back in the day. So it's like it doesn't matter. The age thing doesn't matter. I think if anything, it's a strength because it gives us perspective. Like you guys play off each other so well on your podcast. We just met an hour ago and we've been able to like just banter and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that come with age. If you're just like a kid that hasn't had a lot of world experience, like you might be a great stand up, but you're still finding your voice, finding your perspective. And we kind of have a world perspective already. We just have to find that comedic voice. That's the way I
Yeah.
view
No,
it.
I love that you're doing this podcast focusing on this because that was part of my thought too. It was for so long, like, did I wait way too long to try something new? And then seeing so many people get into this in the same, time in their life, I'm like, no, not at all. And again, with the podcast, with the technology, with the different mediums, it's now it's not like, oh, we all have to try to land with a network TV show. We all have to try to land with a major production studio. It's like, no, let's do our own thing. Like this, where can we get this outlet to be creative? We're not going to get on somewhere. We're like, well, we'll make it. And that's, that's what Altered Judgment is.
Yeah.
We created our own medium to get to perform, learn, explore, be creative. And so many other people are doing the same thing. Like, I mean, YouTube is out there. If you can't, if you can't get someone major to, produce a special and you want to, you even just get 30 minutes, if you find some small theater and you got, your capabilities to record it, produce your own and put your own 30-minute special out on YouTube. Like you can make it your own way. You don't have to wait on other people to necessarily give you a shot. And I think that's also what's going to help so many of these talented people that we've been working with around this area are going to eventually get noticed and how I mean Shane, he's a great story of it, and I think that he doesn't have to be the only one in this area.
I agree.
Down the road, like someone else is going to come out, or multiple people are going to come out of here and put Philly comedy on the map.
I think you can also make the parallel with social media as well. It can be a great thing for DIY stuff, but it also can be a hard spot to break into as well, because certain platforms and stuff are going to push certain people because they're following this and the other thing. So you're fighting an algorithm that won't necessarily say, hey, this person's talented, they're going to be big. Like, oh, this person has 100,000 followers, whatever. So that's the other reason why we love just bring on whomever. Like we like I said, we've had 50,000 followers, we've had 200, 300. We don't care. We just want to share your stuff on our platform. We want to maybe your 200 people, some of them watch us, and maybe our 800 watch you, and then that's how you collaborate. That's the only way to beat the algorithm, because the algorithm you're not going to beat just organically. It's going to take forever, and you're going to get tired of it, and if you're chasing numbers, you're going to quit, and you can't do that. Just keep putting it out there, and find the right people to work with. The collaboration is key. I think that's the piece that will allow small and micro influencers to get into that network one way or another. You can't do it yourself. It's impossible.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'll be honest, as like a Philly guy and fan, when I saw you guys had Chase U on, I was like, oh shit, look at that.
Dude, that was a
yeah,
fun
that just kind of happened. And like, I don't want to start asking you about like your favorite cheesesteaks and pizza because I don't want you to mess up any sponsorships. But I think
sponsorships.
but I think like seeing that is cool, and like I said earlier, it's totally organic. So the way you just framed that was perfect. That and the collaboration is super important.
You have no idea how nervous we were for that one. We're like, dude, why does look at us and look at him like
he wants to deal with us? Oh my god!
But he's local to the area. He lives nearby. He we in our eyes we were taking a shot. Like we're just throwing out there, and hey, maybe he says no, maybe he says yes, but what do we got to lose? And he came on. And he was like, just real down to earth. Like that's the kind of people we want to partner with.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you can get some creators that are in that 100,000 plus realm, and then I don't want to die. You know what I'm talking about. It definitely feels like a business transaction. They're not being themselves. He was very much organically himself, and even said when he was done with the interview, so he's like, I had conversations and talked to you guys about things I would never have thought that I would brought up, because it just felt like I was hanging out with my buddies, and I love that about this. And he's like, that's why I wanted to come on, because I saw what you're doing, and it just exactly what I thought it was. It was just a hangout, and I got to talk without worrying about anything. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's what's fun about doing this, man. It's like I've had the same experience. Like the other night, I interviewed this wild comic. Her name is McLean. She's great, and we've only like maybe spoken for like 2 or 3 minutes at a podcast or at a mic, and we talk for an hour, and like the biggest compliment I can get is when people leave and they're like, "That was a lot of fun," and it's
Yep.
people that I would never know if I didn't do comedy. Like
Bingo.
Right.
that, and like we are just we're all very different people, just like pursuing a similar goal in a way. And I think that's what's nice about it is that you have that kind of kinship and it's easy to collaborate, but also being respectful of everyone's perspectives and things of that nature, which is always really nice and learning from folks as well.
I would almost argue like COVID played a big play into it. Those 5, 6 years of just, things were distance and now everything's like, I would not say the world is healing. There's still major problems, but I'm saying like in general, the people and people interaction is becoming more prominent. People are getting out there. They're making those personal connections. They're having these kind of conversations. It's not, we're talking like, I know obviously we're talking via video that's different, but it's an organic conversation. And I think those things you're gonna see that springboard, and a lot of things are, those creators that were under the radar are gonna start being blips on the radar. So that's what we're looking forward to, and that's what we hope to be a part of, helping people get to that.
And what better way to celebrate people meeting with people than to create content that someone can watch while they're isolated in their own home?
But well, to that point, I didn't even bring this up, but like I was thinking before this episode about the everyone's writing now about like the male loneliness epidemic, and I feel like I've been paying attention to that stuff for like years, like reading different books about like there's one called Boys Adrift, there's one called Boys and Sex. Like there's a lot of sociology that goes into this. It's not new.
No.
It's kind of like when guys reach the age of 30, things start to really change. And to the comedy point, a lot of people kind of stop doing comedy when they're like early 30s and then come back in their 40s. But I feel like being able to do this just it fills a void, but almost like unintentionally. It's just kind of
Yes.
it just kind of happens. Like, oh, this is what we all like wanted to do, and anyone that like criticizes and says it's like immature or anything like that, I'd like to see them do this.
Yeah, go ahead
And
and do it.
yeah, we're not just hanging out; we're hanging out for a reason. So that's been
Listen,
doing
I certainly get the and we've even poked fun of it, the angst at the bro dude podcast, like we took our shot at Rogan once or twice. I think there's a misunderstanding that everybody who has a podcast thinks a certain way, and it's not true. I mean, everybody, and we've even had people that we know have different views on this, and it's ultimately we have to all coexist. So we're going to talk to all kinds of people, and the thing with you're talking about with boys, like I certainly appreciate it because I have two young boys and I want them to grow up and be successful, and yeah, it's in so many ways we made progress in so many things, including with women's rights and stuff like that, and yet in other ways we have so much more distance to go on that. But I think people get hung up on dualities and it has to be this or this. Like we can't, we can be worried about two things at the same time. And, I think people get a little too binary in they approach their beliefs and it's all or nothing. If you don't agree with me 100%, you're an idiot and you're my enemy. It's like that's just not going to happen. There's going to be nuance in things. We're all going to believe slightly different things, even than people we have like 90, 95, 99% of beliefs in common with. So yeah,
Well, I would even argue that parallel in comedy. Like you're starting to see comedy be less, I don't want to say less cautious, that might not be the word, but they're letting it rip again. Like we're starting to see some of those R-rated comedy movies not caring about, like they're letting it go. Like the stuff that we're used to seeing, and even stand up, they're not as paranoid, and comedy's comedy. Like you gotta walk into it with that lens. Like you went to see that person, you kind of knew what you're going to expect. You can't fault them for doing what they were going to do. You paid to see them, and that shouldn't change the way they act. Like just like anything else, you don't have to listen to that song. You don't have to see that movie. You don't have to see that comic, but they should be allowed to do their material.
and you can tell a difference between having fun and punching down.
Correct.
And I agree because I think we'll all agree
100%
punching
agree.
down comedy is still like yeah, come on, man.
no.
There's difference. It's
It's a very clear difference.
but it is nice to see
Very
people
clear
are
difference.
taking risks. I think that, to Alex's point, I think that's what might have stifled comedy for a while.
I
People
agree.
are afraid to be creative and take risks because if you say something, you're like, oh crap, I was saying that for a laugh or for humor. Or even if you're saying it to openly mock it, and the whole point is to mock the absurdity of the point you're pretending to espouse, people will take it as you supported it. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, that is both of you are incredibly accurate with that, and I share that viewpoint. And I think yeah, comedy's nice because it should be balanced and should be pointing out the absurdity without punching down. I think because it was every, and I try to avoid using the word, but like because everything got like either real woke or real not, like it's kind of like there was this hate. You either were like doing like hate comedy or like you're a theater kid in Brooklyn, and it's just kind of like
Yeah.
there's something out there that we all want. We all like super bad. Yeah, is it not the best? But like there,
Didn't age well, but it was the
maybe it
time,
didn't
dude.
age well. Maybe that was a bad reference, but like yeah,
No, it's
Well,
fine.
but
It's still good.
like we brought up before, like the movie Breakfast Club. I love that movie. Is the scene where
Yeah.
Judd Nelson is under the desk looking up Molly
right.
Ringwald's skirt, like highly wrong and inappropriate? Of course,
Dude, poor geese.
Yeah.
but there's still parts of the movie that make us laugh and are fun. I mean, it's the same with like wanting, I've seen the articles, oh, let's cancel Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura. And it's like, listen, LGBTQ rights have come a long way and for the better for everyone. Like, I think most of us would agree on that. But we can still look back at that movie for what it was at the time and the other parts of it and laugh at the jokes.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to look at works 20, 30, 40 plus years ago through today's lens, it's going to look terrible
correct.
because to me, that's proving a point that things are rightfully progressing. But at the same time, when people feel like I can't say something without either people on the left or the right coming at me and saying I shouldn't get to be around and exist, nobody wants to live in that world.
No.
And it's there's a big difference between not tolerating hateful bullshit and intolerable and like disgusting discriminatory things that are said versus having slightly different opinions on something. Like,
Yeah. That's what's
it's
nice
yeah.
at a mic too. When someone says something, you get the reaction immediately
Yeah.
of like, it's like, all right, cool. I'm in a room with cool people. What that person just said was hateful. This isn't, like we know what your vibe is, and
Yeah.
and honestly, from what I've seen, that's like 1% of comedians.
Mhm.
I mean, it seems like a very small percentage are like manosphere people, like for real.
Right.
Like that's, um, I don't know. I don't want to ramble. You guys made really good points, but you're right. Like the context of the time is important, and also just being able to find that balance to make it funny. If you can't find the balance, it's really not funny. Like I was going back to watch it, and I don't understand people's love for Sam Kinison, but like maybe in the '80s people liked it, but like I watched a bit of him talking about rap music, and I'm like, this is one of the most racist things I've ever heard.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't care if I was alive in 1980. Well, I was, but if I were able to understand it when he was around, I'd be like, "This is shit.
No.
Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy." But there's also a cut to like Ice-T in the audience watching it and kind of like laughing, but like like whatever. I'm like, the world was very different, but he's a comedian I just don't understand the love for. But when I saw that bit, I'm like, okay, I think I'm right here of not not liking him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I did want to ask you guys because I know you're going to record something else. I'm going to go record something else. So
How we roll.
what would your what would your younger selves think about your decisions to pursue comedy and podcast? What do you think they would say to you now, like your 25-year-old selves?
My 25-year-old self would be very happy that I'm actually finally pursuing the stuff that I originally was looking at, as far as school and things like that. Like I said, I went for film. I was in a band. I did a lot with music. I was actively in photography, but then the problem became, well, I have steady bills. It's decent income, but not steady income. So I had to make the decision, which I believe a lot of people do, and in our age bracket and beyond, is passion or profit, making money. And it's a very tough thing to juggle. It's very hard to make a consistent income with those creative outlets. So I'm very glad that I did what I did then to make the money to allow me to be where I'm at now. And then I would be very happy with myself for diving back in and pursuing those passions and being able to reignite that spark and that flame at this time. And all those things did come to fruition, whether it's my actual job, but it's a passion and I'm doing all of it in one. It's music, it's photography, it's video, it's comedy, and it's all in one little package and it's perfect.
I echo Alex's point similarly. I think my 25-year-old self will be happy that I'm now exploring the more creative aspects of my personality. I kind of felt like, I had to do the things, to school to get the good paying job and all this stuff. And, what I like now is, it you don't have to just be one person. I'm still very proud of the work I do for my regular job and take it very seriously and care about it. But I'm also excited for what this could become, and if this could become the job. Like I think if anything, it's a lesson that you don't have to be one thing. You can do what you want to do if you're willing to put in the time and effort. I think that's what it would be.
Awesome. Thank you both for that. Is there anything you want to add of like where we can find you coming up, what you have planned for Altered Judgment again for the next season? You shared a little earlier, so
yeah, I mean, we got some episodes in the back catalog. We went crazy over the last few months. We were shooting 2 or 3 episodes a day, like folding things. We just dropped the Christmas in July special, but we did it intentionally because we wanted to focus on these outdoor and live things that we have coming. I can't specifically mention them because there's still some details we're ironing out, but there's in the next couple of months there's going to be about 3 to 4 live events that will be out in the wild doing something different than this normal studio thing. We do have our normal episodes dropping, obviously on all of our socials. Just we'll keep doing what we're doing, but we have some really cool stuff. We're going to be out in the wild, and then we'll let everybody know when that's coming to fruition. Yeah, that's really it. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, but we've got some unique stuff that we're finally getting to pursue, and that's why we're taking a little time off in the studio, but our release schedule is going to be the same.
Yep.
Sick, top secret, cool stuff. I like it. You guys have been great. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you
again.
We'll have to get you here. We got to do
absolutely.
Yeah, I'll come in person for sure.
There you go.
I would love that. And when I do mine, we'll do that. We got a whole relationship
we'll
built here.
We'll
so
have
nice.
the Sudafed and the Allegra.
None of this. No more Sudafed or tissues. This is just hopefully it's summer. I'm supposed to go to an open mic too. Everyone's gonna hate me. I hope I can keep blowing my nose for the next couple of hours. But
you can't see it, but to our left you can tell we're old because we have like literally like studio antacid. Like there's just stuff up here because
again to the point we're all in our like near 40s.
Yeah, things change quite a bit.
It's a bit later, but a lot of time left, guys.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Thank you guys.
No problem. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
You too.
I'll see you.